Welcome to 5-Minute Math. This is Carrie Rhinehart. Today I'm going to be looking at complex numbers. If you're following along in the book, it's from Algebra 2, Unit 1, Lesson 2. You can also find more information and more videos in Algebra 1. So a complex number is any number that includes an I in it. It's really written in the form A plus BI, where A is a real number, okay, which is the numbers you're used to, and BI represents an imaginary number. It's got an I in it. So just to recap, I is equal to the square root of -1. Remember, we can't take the square root of a negative, so they came up with these imaginary with I so that we can simplify if we do end up with a negative under the radical. One thing that you will need to know, because you'll be asked to work with powers of I. We know that I equals the square root of -1. Therefore, I squared would be if we multiplied this by itself. So if we multiply, and let me rewrite it this way. If we square a square root, they end up canceling each other out and you get -1. This is the most important one that you need to know. I squared equals -1. So if you ever see I squared, you replace it with -1. We also need to know I cubed. So if we get I cubed, that's equal to I times I squared. Well, we know that I squared equals -1, so this is really I times -1 or -I. Okay, so I cubed equals -I, and then I to the fourth would be equal to I squared times I squared, because remember, when you multiply with exponents, you would add those, which would equal I to the fourth. But I squared is -1, so this really means -1 times -1, which is +1. So when you're simplifying powers of I, we just leave I as I. I squared, we change to -1. I cubed, we change to -I, and I to the fourth we replace with 1. So these are very important right here. Let's do a couple examples with this information. So let's say that I'm asked to simplify the square root of -9. Well, remember, we can't take the square root of a negative, so they created I if you have a negative under a radical. So if you have a negative under a radical, what you can really do is rewrite this as the square root of -1 times 9, or the square root of -1 times the square root of 9. Well, we know that the square root of -1 we can rewrite as I, so I'm going to put an I there, and the square root of 9 is just 3. So I get I times 3, which is 3I. So the square root of -9 is equal to 3I. All right, you'll also be asked to simplify powers of I. Okay, so what that means is if they give you something, let's say like -3I to the 200, and here, let me erase this. Let's say I have -3I to the 286. They want you to rewrite this simplified. We want to convert it to a power of 4, because a power of 4 equals 1, and then we'll see what leftovers we have. So what we're going to do is first just write the -3 to the side, and we're going to focus with just the I to the 286. What you're going to do here is divide 286 by 4. So in my calculator, I'm dividing 286 by 4, and I get 71.5. That means 4 goes into this 71 times evenly. So I could write it like this: I to the fourth, 71 times evenly. But then we still have 0.5 left over. Well, half of 4 means there's 2 left over, so that's I squared. This is helpful because I to the fourth equals 1. So I really get 1 to the 71st. And then I squared equals -1 times -1. And we still have this -3 out here. Well, I'm going to bring down the -3. I to any power, 1 to any power is just 1. So 1 to the 71st is just 1. And then we have times -1. And if we multiply these, -3 times 1 times -1, you're going to get a +3 here.